Top 50 Greatest Writers in History. Number 50. Rumi. Born in 1207 in Balkh, present-day Afghanistan, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi is one of the most influential mystical poets in the Islamic world and universal literature. Known simply as Rumi, his work transcends cultural and religious boundaries, exploring themes of love, spirituality, and the quest for union with the divine. His most emblematic work, the Masnavi, is an extensive collection of poems that combines Sufi teachings, stories, and parables that invite reflection on the nature of the human being and their relationship with God. Through emotive and metaphorical language, Rumi addresses the importance of love as a unifying and transformative force. Rumi's life changed radically after meeting the dervish Shams-e Tabrizi, whose friendship and spiritual guidance profoundly influenced his poetry and philosophy. After Shams's disappearance, Rumi channeled his pain and longing into verses that have resonated over the centuries for their depth and beauty. Rumi's poetry is appreciated for its ability to connect with readers from diverse cultures and eras, offering a universal vision of the human experience. His teachings promote tolerance, compassion, and understanding among people, regardless of their beliefs. Rumi passed away in 1273 in Konya, present-day Turkey, but his legacy endures. His tomb is a place of pilgrimage, and his poems continue to be widely read and quoted, demonstrating the timelessness of his message and its relevance in the contemporary world. Number 49. Mary Shelley. Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, born on August 30, 1797, in London, is recognized as a pioneer of science fiction and a prominent voice in Gothic literature. Daughter of feminist philosopher Mary Wollstonecraft and political philosopher William Godwin, Mary grew up in an intellectual environment that stimulated her creativity and critical thinking. At 18, she wrote Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, 1818, a novel ahead of its time in exploring the ethical implications of science and the creation of life. The story of Dr. Victor Frankenstein and his creature addresses themes such as moral responsibility, loneliness, and the desire for belonging. The work questions the limits of human ambition and the consequences of defying the natural order. Frankenstein originated during a literary evening in Switzerland, where Mary, along with Percy Shelley and Lord Byron, participated in a horror story contest. The novel is not only a milestone in literature for its innovative theme but also for its psychological depth and reflection on the human condition. Besides Frankenstein, Mary Shelley wrote other novels and stories, including The Last Man, 1826, an apocalyptic science fiction work that explores loneliness and survival. Her work often reflects concerns about society, ethics, and the role of women. Mary Shelley died on February 1, 1851, but her influence endures. Her work continues to be studied and adapted, highlighting her ability to address universal issues and her contribution to the science fiction genre and Gothic literature. Number 48. Mikhail Bulgakov. Mikhail Afanasyevich Bulgakov, born on May 15, 1891, in Kiev, was a Russian writer and playwright whose works offer a satirical critique of Soviet society. His most famous novel, The Master and Margarita, is considered one of the masterpieces of 20th-century Russian literature. Written between 1928 and 1940, but published posthumously in 1966, The Master and Margarita combines elements of fantasy, realism, and philosophy. The novel narrates the devil's visit to Soviet Moscow, intertwining stories about good and evil, artistic freedom, and human nature. Through memorable characters and surreal situations, Bulgakov criticizes the censorship and oppression of the Stalinist regime. Bulgakov's work was often censored and unpublished during his lifetime due to its critical content. Despite the difficulties, he continued writing, leaving a legacy that includes novels like Heart of a Dog and plays like The Days of the Turbines. Bulgakov studied medicine and served as a doctor during World War I and the Russian Civil War before dedicating himself entirely to literature. His medical experience influenced some of his early works, where he explores the human condition and morality. He died on March 10, 1940, in Moscow. After his death, his wife Elena Bulgakova worked tirelessly to preserve and publish his work. Today, Bulgakov is celebrated for his wit, unique style, and courage in confronting controversial themes, making him a key figure in Russian literature. Number 47. Emily Bronte. Emily Jane Bronte, born on July 30, 1818, in Thornton, Yorkshire, was an English writer and poet known for her only novel, Wuthering Heights, 1847. Although published under the male pseudonym Ellis Bell, her work has become a classic of English literature. Wuthering Heights is a passionate and dark story of love and revenge set on the Yorkshire moors. The novel explores the intense and often destructive relationships between its main characters, Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw. Through a non-linear narrative and multiple narrators, Bronte delves into themes like the wild nature of love, resentment, and the influence of the environment on human behavior. The novel challenged the Victorian conventions of its time, presenting morally ambiguous characters and extreme emotions. Initially, it received mixed reviews, but over time it has been recognized for its originality and psychological depth. Besides her novel, Emily wrote poetry that reflects her connection with nature and introspective themes. Her poetic style is notable for its emotional intensity and ability to capture loneliness and longing. Emily Bronte led a reclusive life and died prematurely on December 19, 1848, at the age of 30. Despite her short literary career, her impact on literature is significant. Wuthering Heights has inspired numerous adaptations and continues to be studied for its complex exploration of human passion and innovative narrative structure. Number 46. Salman Rushdie. Ahmed Salman Rushdie, born on June 19, 1947, in Bombay, India, is a British Indian writer and essayist known for his style that fuses magical realism with historical and social narratives. His work often explores themes of identity, displacement, and tensions between East and West. His most acclaimed novel, Midnight's Children, 1981, won the Booker Prize and the prestigious Booker of Bookers in 1993 as the best novel in the first 25 years of the prize. The story follows Salim Sinai, born exactly at midnight on India's Independence Day, whose personal destinies are intricately linked to the history of his nation. The novel is a symbolism-rich allegory that addresses fragmentation and the search for identity in a post-colonial country. In 1988, he published The Satanic Verses, a work that generated controversy and global debates about freedom of expression and censorship. The novel combines fantastic and realistic elements to explore themes of faith, migration, and cultural duality. Despite the controversies, Rushdie has continued producing significant works like The Moor's Last Sigh and Shalimar the Clown. His writing is praised for its linguistic exuberance, humor, and ability to address complex themes with depth and humanity. Rushdie is also an active defender of freedom of expression and has received numerous recognitions for his contribution to literature. His influence extends beyond letters, being a prominent voice in contemporary cultural and political debates. Number 45. Harper Lee. Nell Harper Lee, born on April 28, 1926, in Monroeville, Alabama, is known worldwide for her novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, 1960, a work that addresses themes of race, justice, and morality in the southern United States during the Great Depression. The novel, narrated from the perspective of Scout Finch, a girl who observes her father, lawyer Atticus Finch, defending a black man unjustly accused of rape, has become a classic of American literature. Through her innocent but insightful narration, Lee explores racial discrimination, loss of innocence, and moral integrity. To Kill a Mockingbird won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961 and has been widely studied in schools and universities for its powerful message and memorable characters. Atticus Finch is particularly revered as a symbol of righteousness and justice. For decades, Harper Lee stayed away from the public eye and did not publish another novel until Go Set a Watchman in 2015, which is believed to be an earlier draft of To Kill a Mockingbird. The publication of this work generated debate about changes in characters and the themes addressed. Harper Lee died on February 19, 2016, leaving a significant legacy. Her literary contribution not only reflects a crucial era in American history but also continues to inspire discussions about ethics, empathy, and prejudices in contemporary society. Number 44. John Steinbeck. John Ernst Steinbeck, Jr., born on February 27, 1902, in Salinas, California, was an American writer whose works capture the essence of the human experience during the Great Depression and beyond. Winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1962, Steinbeck is known for his realistic and emotive narratives. Among his most notable works is The Grapes of Wrath, 1939, a novel that follows the Joad family as they migrate from Oklahoma to California in search of work and dignity after losing their farm. The novel addresses themes like social injustice, labor exploitation, and human resilience in the face of adversity. The Grapes of Wrath won the Pulitzer Prize and is considered a masterpiece of American literature. Other notable works include Of Mice and Men, 1937, a tragic story of friendship and unattainable dreams, and East of Eden, 1952, a family epic that explores good and evil across several generations. Steinbeck had a direct and evocative style, with deep empathy for the marginalized and oppressed. His vivid descriptions and complex characters offer social critique and an honest portrayal of American life. In addition to novels, he wrote short stories, essays, and travel chronicles. Steinbeck died on December 20, 1968, in New York. His legacy endures, and his works continue to be relevant for their humanity and focus on universal themes of struggle and hope. Number 43. Anton Chekhov. Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, born on January 29, 1860, in Taganrog, Russia, was a physician, playwright, and short story author who revolutionized modern narrative with his style and technique. He is considered one of the greatest short story writers in literary history. Chekhov is known for plays like The Seagull, 1896, Uncle Vanya, 1899, Three Sisters, 1901, and The Cherry Orchard, 1904. His theatrical pieces are notable for their focus on the character's emotional state rather than the plot, exploring themes of dissatisfaction, the passage of time, and the complexities of everyday life. In his short stories, Chekhov developed a concise and subtle style, often avoiding closed endings and allowing the stories to reflect reality with all its ambiguities. Works like The Lady with the Dog exemplify his ability to capture significant moments in the lives of ordinary people. Besides his literary work, Chekhov practiced medicine, stating that medicine is my lawful wife, literature only my mistress. His medical experience provided him with a deep understanding of the human condition, reflected in the empathy and realism of his writings. Chekhov died on July 15, 1904, in Badenweiler, Germany, due to tuberculosis. His influence is immense, and his innovative approach to narrative has inspired numerous writers and playwrights worldwide. Number 42. Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy, born on July 20, 1933, in Providence, Rhode Island, is an American novelist and playwright known for his austere prose and explorations of violence, morality, and human nature. His works are often set in the Deep South and the Southwest of the United States. Among his most notable novels is The Road, 2006, which won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. The post-apocalyptic story follows a father and his son as they traverse a desolate landscape, struggling to survive. The novel delves into themes of paternal love, hope, and the essence of humanity in extreme circumstances. Another significant work is No Country for Old Men, 2005, a thriller that explores violence and fate, successfully adapted into a film by the Coen brothers. Blood Meridian, 1985, is another of his acclaimed novels, known for its brutal depiction of violence on the American frontier in the 19th century. McCarthy's style is characteristic for its poetic language, minimalist dialogues, and vivid descriptions. His writing challenges conventions and often lacks traditional punctuation, which brings a unique and absorbing quality to his narratives. Throughout his career, McCarthy has maintained a low profile, avoiding publicity and interviews. However, his impact on contemporary literature is undeniable, with influence extending to writers and filmmakers. His works continue to be studied and appreciated for their philosophical depth and powerful prose. Number 41. J.R.R. Tolkien. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, born on January 3, 1892, in Bloemfontein, South Africa, was a writer, poet, and philologist, widely recognized for creating the universe of Middle-earth in works like The Hobbit, 1937, and The Lord of the Rings, 1954-1955. Tolkien, a professor of Anglo-Saxon at the University of Oxford, dedicated much of his life to creating languages and mythologies. The Hobbit, initially conceived as a tale for his children, narrates the adventures of Bilbo Baggins and sets the stage for the epic, The Lord of the Rings, a trilogy that follows Bilbo's nephew, Frodo Baggins, on his mission to destroy the One Ring and save Middle-earth. Tolkien's works are celebrated for their detailed fictional world, which includes complete languages, histories, and geographies. His narrative explores themes of heroism, friendship, the corruption of power, and the struggle between good and evil. In addition to his best-known novels, Tolkien worked on numerous writings that delve into the history and mythology of Middle-earth, many of which were published posthumously by his son Christopher Tolkien. Tolkien's influence on fantasy literature is monumental, setting standards and conventions that have inspired generations of writers and contributed to the genre's popularity. His legacy has also expanded through successful film adaptations and a wide base of admirers worldwide. Tolkien died on September 2, 1973, in Bournemouth, England. His work endures as a testament to his imagination and dedication to world building. Number 40. Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami, born on January 12, 1949, in Kyoto, Japan, is one of the most influential and popular contemporary writers. His work is characterized by combining elements of Western pop culture with Japanese literary traditions, creating surreal and dreamlike narratives. Among his most recognized novels are Norwegian Wood, 1987, a story of love and loss that catapulted him to fame in Japan, and Kafka on the Shore, 2002, which intertwines the lives of a teenager running away from home and an elderly man who can talk to cats. Another notable work is 1Q84, 2009-2010, an extensive novel that explores parallel realities and complex relationships. Recurring themes in Murakami's work include loneliness, alienation, the search for identity, and the boundaries between the real and the fantastic. His style is known for its simple yet evocative prose, introspective dialogues, and references to music, especially jazz and rock. Murakami has also written short stories and essays and has translated into Japanese works by American writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Raymond Carver, reflecting his admiration for Western literature. Despite his international recognition and frequent mentions as a Nobel Prize candidate, Murakami maintains a private and reserved life. His impact on modern literature is significant, influencing writers and captivating readers with his enigmatic worlds and memorable characters. Murakami continues to publish and explore new literary horizons, solidifying his position as a unique and vital voice in contemporary literature. Number 39. Julio Cortázar. Born on August 26, 1914, in Brussels, Belgium, Julio Cortázar was an Argentine writer considered one of the most innovative and original authors of his time. Despite being born in Belgium, he moved to Argentina at a young age and fully embraced the Argentine cultural identity. Cortázar is known for his experimental approach to narrative, breaking with traditional structures and exploring new forms of literary expression. His most famous novel, Hopscotch, 1963, is a clear example of this. The work allows the reader to choose the order in which the chapters are read, offering multiple reading possibilities and questioning the conventional linearity of novels. In addition to Hopscotch, Cortázar wrote numerous short stories that combine elements of magical realism, surrealism, and existentialism. Collections like Bestiary, 1951, and Cronopios and Famas, 1962, showcase his ability to fuse the ordinary with the fantastic, creating enigmatic and thought-provoking atmospheres. Cortázar's writing often explores themes like the duality of existence, identity, time, and reality versus fantasy. His style is characterized by playful language, word games, and a deep psychological exploration of his characters. Julio Cortázar died on February 12, 1984, in Paris, France, where he lived much of his adult life. His literary legacy continues to influence writers and readers worldwide, and his work is celebrated for its innovation and ability to challenge literary conventions. Number 38. Umberto Eco. Born on January 5, 1932, in Alessandria, Italy, Umberto Eco was an Italian writer, philosopher, semiotician, and university professor. Known for his erudition and ability to combine academic knowledge with engaging narratives, Eco left an indelible mark on contemporary literature. His debut novel, The Name of the Rose, 1980, is a historical thriller set in a medieval monastery. The work combines mystery, philosophy, and semiotic analysis to explore themes like truth, faith, and the power of knowledge. The novel was an international success and was adapted into a film in 1986. Another notable work is Foucault's Pendulum, 1988, which satirizes conspiracy theories and the human obsession with finding hidden patterns and meanings. Through a complex narrative and references to esotericism, history, and philosophy, Eco invites the reader to reflect on the interpretation of signs and the construction of reality. As a semiotician, Eco studied signs and symbols in culture, significantly influencing his writing. His style is known for being detailed and rich in intertextual allusions, often requiring active reader participation to decipher multiple layers of meaning. In addition to novels, Eco wrote academic essays and journalistic articles, contributing to intellectual dialogue on culture, communication, and society. Umberto Eco died on February 19, 2016, in Milan, Italy. His work continues to be studied and appreciated for its intellectual depth and ability to combine entertainment with philosophical reflection. Number 37. Isabel Allende. Isabel Allende Llona was born on August 2, 1942, in Lima, Peru, but is a Chilean-American writer whose work has been translated into more than 40 languages. Niece of Chilean President Salvador Allende, her family went into exile after the 1973 coup d'état, an experience that deeply influenced her writing. Her first novel, The House of the Spirits, 1982, initially conceived as a letter to her dying grandfather, is a family saga that mixes magical realism and politics, spanning 4 generations against the backdrop of tumultuous social and political changes in Chile. The work established Allende as a prominent voice in Latin American literature. Allende explores themes like love, memory, exile, and identity, often from a female perspective. Her female characters are strong and complex, reflecting her interest in feminism and women's rights. Other notable works include Of Love and Shadows, 1984, Eva Luna, 1987, and Paula, 1994, the latter an emotional memoir written during her daughter's illness and subsequent death. Allende's narrative combines autobiographical elements with fiction, and her style is known for its warmth, emotion, and vivid descriptions. She has received numerous awards and recognitions for her contribution to literature and social activism. Isabel Allende continues to write and participate in humanitarian causes, being one of the most read and respected Latin American writers in the world. Number 36. José Saramago. José de Sousa Saramago was born on November 16, 1922, in Azenhaga, Portugal. He is one of the most important Portuguese writers of the 20th century and the only Portuguese language author to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature, awarded in 1998. Saramago is known for his unique style, characterized by long sentences, scarce punctuation, and dialogues integrated into the text without dashes or quotation marks. This style reflects the fluidity of thought and orality, creating an immersive reading experience. Among his most notable works is Blindness, 1995, an allegorical novel where an inexplicable epidemic of blindness affects a city, exploring themes like dehumanization, ethics, and the fragility of society. Another significant work is The Gospel According to Jesus Christ, 1991, which offers a humanized and controversial interpretation of Jesus' life, generating criticism from religious institutions and leading the author to voluntarily exile himself in Lanzarote, Spain. Saramago tackled philosophical and social themes, questioning power structures and established conventions. His writing is deeply critical and reflective, inviting the reader to consider new perspectives on the human condition. He died on June 18, 2010, in Tías, Lanzarote. His literary legacy is vast and continues to influence writers and readers, consolidating him as a central figure in world literature. Number 35. Italo Calvino. Italo Calvino was born on October 15, 1923, in Santiago de Las Vegas, Cuba, to Italian parents, and grew up in San Remo, Italy. He is considered one of the most important Italian writers of the 20th century, known for his exuberant imagination and exploration of innovative literary concepts. Among his most famous works is Invisible Cities, 1972, a book that presents a series of poetic descriptions of imaginary cities, narrated by Marco Polo to Emperor Kublai Khan. The work is a meditation on imagination, memory, and the nature of human experience. Another notable novel is The Baron in the Trees, 1957, part of the trilogy Our Ancestors, where young Baron Cosimo Piovasco di Rondo decides to live in the trees without touching the ground again, exploring themes of independence and relationship with society. Calvino also wrote If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, 1979, a postmodern novel that plays with narrative structure and the interaction between author, narrator, and reader. His style is versatile, encompassing realism, fantasy, and metafiction. Calvino combined elements of fable, philosophy, and science, showing a deep curiosity about language and the structure of stories. He died on September 19, 1985, in Siena, Italy. His work has influenced writers and artists worldwide and is celebrated for his contribution to literature and his ability to expand the boundaries of narrative. Number 34. Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath was born on October 27, 1932, in Boston, Massachusetts, United States. She was an American poet and novelist whose work has had a lasting impact on contemporary literature, especially in the confessional poetry genre. Her only novel, The Bell Jar, 1963, is a semi-autobiographical work that narrates Esther Greenwood's struggle with depression and her experience in a psychiatric institution. The novel offers a raw and honest look at mental health and the role of women in society at the time. Plath is best known for her poetry, published in collections like The Colossus, 1960, and Ariel, 1965, the latter published posthumously. Her poems are intense and emotive, exploring themes like identity, death, nature, and personal relationships. Her poetic style is notable for its vivid imagery, precise language, and powerful symbolism. Plath used her writing as a way to express and process her own experiences and emotions, breaking taboos and paving the way for future generations of writers. Sylvia Plath struggled with mental disorders throughout her life and committed suicide on February 11, 1963, in London. Her legacy has generated debates about the relationship between creativity and mental illness and has inspired many with her courage in addressing difficult topics with sincerity and depth. Number 33. Toni Morrison. Chloe Anthony Wofford, known as Toni Morrison, was born on February 18, 1931, in Lorain, Ohio, United States. She was a novelist, essayist, and professor, recognized for her exploration of the African American experience and her profound influence on contemporary literature. In 1993, Morrison received the Nobel Prize in Literature, being the first African American woman to win this prestigious award. The Nobel Committee praised her novels characterized by visionary force and poetic import. Her most famous novel, Beloved, 1987, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, is based on the true story of a slave who, faced with recapture, decides to kill her daughter to prevent her from living in slavery. The work explores themes like trauma, memory, and the lasting impact of slavery on individuals and communities. Other notable novels include Song of Solomon, 1977, and The Bluest Eye, 1970, where Morrison addresses issues of identity, race, gender, and the quest for self-esteem in a context of social oppression. Her literary style is rich in symbolism, with nonlinear narratives and lyrical prose that incorporates elements of African American folklore and oral tradition. Morrison challenged stereotypical representations and gave voice to often silenced experiences. Toni Morrison died on August 5, 2019, in New York. Her legacy continues to influence writers and readers, and her work remains fundamental to understanding African American history and culture. Number 32. Chinua Achebe. Albert Chinua Achebe was born on November 16, 1930, in Ogidi, Nigeria. He was a novelist, poet, and literary critic, considered the father of modern African literature in English. His debut novel, Things Fall Apart, 1958, is one of the most read and translated works of African literature. The novel portrays the life of Okonkwo, an Igbo warrior, and the devastating impact of the arrival of British colonizers and Christian missionaries on his traditional community. Achebe sought to counter Western representations of Africa by presenting an insider's view that shows the complexity and richness of African cultures. His works address themes like colonialism, cultural identity, the clash of civilizations, and the struggles to maintain traditions in the face of imposed changes. Other novels include No Longer at Ease, 1960, and Arrow of God, 1964, which continue to explore the tensions between African traditions and Western modernity. As a critic, Achebe was influential in debates about post-colonial literature and the representation of Africa in literature. His essay, An Image of Africa, Racism in Conrad's Heart of Darkness, 1975, is widely cited for its critique of racism in Western literature. Chinua Achebe died on March 21, 2013, in Boston, United States. His legacy is fundamental in world literature, and his work has inspired countless writers and contributed to a greater understanding of African experiences. Number 31. Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was born on May 7, 1861, in Calcutta, India, into a prominent family. He was a poet, philosopher, musician, and multifaceted artist, and in 1913 became the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, in recognition of his work, Gitanjali, Song Offerings. Tagore wrote in Bengali and English, and his work encompasses poetry, novels, short stories, essays, and musical compositions. His poetry is known for its deep spirituality, lyrical sensitivity, and exploration of the relationship between man and nature. The Home in the World, 1916, is one of his most notable novels, addressing the conflict between Western ideas and Indian traditions, as well as nationalist tensions in colonial India. Tagore founded the Visva Bharati School in Santiniketan, with an educational vision that integrated Eastern and Western philosophy, promoting outdoor learning and creativity. In addition to his literary contribution, Tagore composed the music and lyrics for the national anthems of India, Jana Gana Mana, and Bangladesh, Amar Shoner Bangla. He died on August 7, 1941, in Calcutta. Tagore is remembered as a key figure in the Bengali Renaissance and as a bridge between Eastern and Western cultures, promoting values of humanity, universality, and harmony. Number 30. W.B. Yeats. William Butler Yeats was born on June 13, 1865, in Sandymount, Ireland. He was an Irish poet and playwright, one of the founders of the Irish literary revival and a central figure in 20th century literature. Yeats received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1923, being the first Irishman to obtain it. The Nobel Committee recognized his always inspired poetry, which in a highly artistic form gives expression to the spirit of a whole nation. His poetic work evolved from an initial romantic style to more modern and symbolic poetry. Yeats explored themes like Irish mythology, national identity, and the complexities of love and aging. Poems like The Second Coming and Sailing to Byzantium reflect his concerns about modern civilization and the search for the eternal. His style combines powerful images, symbolism, and mastery of meter and form. In addition to his poetry, Yeats was a prominent playwright and co-founder of the Abbey Theatre in Dublin, promoting Irish national theatre. Yeats was also involved in Irish politics, serving as a senator in the Irish Free State and participating in movements for independence and cultural revival. He died on January 28, 1939, in Menton, France. Yeats's legacy is lasting, and his work continues to be studied and admired for its depth, beauty, and contribution to Irish and world literary identity. Number 29. Thomas Mann. Born on June 6, 1875, in Lübeck, Germany, Thomas Mann was a prominent German novelist and essayist, considered one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. In 1929, he received the Nobel Prize in Literature in recognition of his monumental work, Buddenbrooks, 1901, a family saga that narrates the decline of a merchant family over several generations. The novel offers a deep critique of bourgeois society and explores themes like decadence, ambition, and conflicts between the individual and society. Another of his masterpieces is The Magic Mountain, 1924, which follows young Hans Castorp during his stay in a sanatorium in the Swiss Alps. The novel is a philosophical and psychological exploration of life, death, time, and illness, reflecting the cultural and spiritual tensions of Europe before World War I. Dr. Faustus, 1947, is a modern reinterpretation of the Faust myth, where Mann addresses the rise of Nazism and Germany's spiritual crisis. Through the character of composer Adrian Leverkin, the novel explores the relationship between artistic genius, madness, and moral corruption. Thomas Mann's style is characterized by dense and detailed prose, the use of symbolism, and the psychological depth of his characters. His works often reflect internal conflicts and ethical questioning, combining autobiographical elements with social and cultural critiques. Mann went into exile from Germany in 1933 due to his opposition to the Nazi regime, living in Switzerland and later in the United States. He continued writing and actively participating in intellectual debates until his death on August 12, 1955, in Zurich, Switzerland. His literary legacy continues to be studied and celebrated for its influence on modern literature and his ability to capture the complexities of the human spirit. Number 28. Vladimir Nabokov. Vladimir Vladimirovich Nabokov was born on April 22, 1899, in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was a novelist, poet, and literary critic, known for his stylistic mastery and innovative narrative. After the Russian Revolution, his family went into exile, and Nabokov lived in several countries before settling in the United States. His most famous work, Lolita, 1955, is a controversial novel that narrates the obsession of Humbert Humbert, a middle-aged professor, with a 12-year-old girl, Dolores Hayes. Despite its polemical theme, the novel is acclaimed for its brilliant use of language, wordplay, and exploration of human psychology. Lolita challenges literary and moral conventions and is considered a masterpiece for its narrative and stylistic complexity. Other notable works include Pale Fire, 1962, a novel that mixes poetry and prose through a 999-line poem and the extensive commentary of an unreliable narrator, and Ada or Arter, 1969, a family epic set in an alternative reality. Nabokov was an expert in lepidoptery and a chess enthusiast, interests often reflected in his writings through metaphors and complex structures. His command of English and Russian allowed him to write with equal skill in both languages, enriching literature with his multilingual and cosmopolitan style. He died on July 2, 1977, in Montreux, Switzerland. Nabokov left a literary legacy that continues to fascinate readers and scholars for its originality, wit, and depth in exploring the recesses of the human mind. Number 27. Murasaki Shikibu. Murasaki Shikibu was a Japanese writer and lady-in-waiting who lived during the Heian period, 794–1185. Born around the year 973 into an aristocratic family, she is recognized as the author of The Tale of Genji, Genji Monogatari, considered the world's first novel and a masterpiece of Japanese and universal literature. The Tale of Genji is an extensive novel that follows the life of Prince Genji, exploring his romantic and political existence in the imperial court. The work offers a detailed description of courtly life, human relationships, and the subtleties of Japanese aristocratic society of the time. Through elegant and poetic prose, Murasaki addresses themes like love, beauty, impermanence, and the search for meaning. The novel is notable for its psychological depth and complex character development, especially at a time when literature focused on simpler narratives. Murasaki is also known for her diary and collection of poems, which provide valuable information about the life and customs of the Heian period. Her pseudonym, Murasaki Shikibu, derives from one of her novel's characters and her father's position in the Ministry of Ceremonies, Shikibu. Her real name is unknown, as it was common at that time to refer to noblewomen by titles or pseudonyms. Murasaki Shikibu died around the year 1014. Her contribution to literature is immense, and The Tale of Genji continues to be studied and admired for its narrative sophistication and profound impact on Japanese and world literary culture. Number 26. Gustave Flaubert. Gustave Flaubert was born on December 12, 1821, in Rouen, France. He is considered one of the great Western novelists, recognized for his scrupulous devotion to style and being a perfectionist of French prose. His most famous work, Madame Bovary, 1857, is a novel that narrates the life of Emma Bovary, a provincial woman who, dissatisfied with her marriage and daily life, seeks fulfillment through extramarital affairs and consumerism, eventually leading her to ruin. The novel is an incisive portrait of French bourgeoisie and explores themes like romanticism, dissatisfaction, and lost illusions. Madame Bovary was the subject of a legal trial for immorality, from which Flaubert was acquitted, increasing the work's notoriety. The novel is considered a milestone in literary realism for its attention to detail and honest exploration of human psychology. Other notable works include Salammbô, 1862, a historical novel set in Carthage, and Sentimental Education, 1869, which follows the disillusionments of a young man in the context of France's social and political changes. Flaubert was known for his search for le mot juste, the exact word, dedicating years to revising his manuscripts to achieve stylistic perfection. His influence is evident in later generations of writers who admired his commitment to the art of writing. He died on May 8, 1880, in Coissy, France. Flaubert's legacy endures as a master of realism and a model of literary rigor. Number 25. T.S. Eliot. Thomas Stearns Eliot was born on September 26, 1888, in St. Louis, Missouri, United States. He was a poet, playwright, and literary critic who became a central figure in English-language modernist poetry. Although born in the United States, Eliot moved to the United Kingdom in 1914 and became a British citizen in 1927. His most famous poem, The Waste Land, 1922, is a complex and fragmented work that reflects the disorder and disillusionment following World War I, combining multiple voices, languages, and cultural references. The poem explores themes like loss of faith, isolation, and the search for meaning in a fragmented world. Another significant poem is Four Quartets, 1943, where Eliot delves into philosophical and spiritual questions, reflecting on time, redemption, and human experience. As a playwright, he wrote works like Murder in the Cathedral, 1935, and The Cocktail Party, 1950, which explore religious and social themes. Eliot received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1948 for his outstanding and pioneering contribution to modern poetry. His innovative style, use of literary techniques like the interior monologue and collage of cultural references, greatly influenced 20th century poetry. In addition to his creative work, Eliot was an influential literary critic and editor, helping to shape the literary canon and promoting other writers like Ezra Pound and James Joyce. He died on January 4, 1965, in London. T.S. Eliot left a lasting legacy as one of the most important and influential poets in English literature. Number 24. Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19, 1809, in Boston, Massachusetts, United States. He was a writer, poet, critic, and editor known for his tales of mystery and the macabre, and is considered a precursor of the science fiction and detective genres. Among his most famous works are stories like The Tell-Tale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher, and The Black Cat, which explore human psychology, guilt, and fear. His poem, The Raven, 1845, is an iconic piece of American poetry, known for its musicality, stylized language, and supernatural atmosphere. Poe is recognized for his ability to create intense atmospheres and explore extreme mental states. His stories often feature unreliable narrators and surprising endings, influencing generations of writers. In addition to his fiction, Poe was a sharp and sometimes scathing literary critic, defending the importance of originality and style in literature. His personal life was marked by tragedy and financial difficulties. He died on October 7, 1849, in Baltimore, Maryland, under mysterious circumstances that have given rise to speculation and legends. Edgar Allan Poe's legacy is vast, and his influence extends to literature, film, and popular culture. He is celebrated as a key figure in the development of American literature and as a master of the short story and poetry. Number 23. Oscar Wilde. Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde was born on October 16, 1854, in Dublin, Ireland. He was a celebrated playwright, novelist, poet, and critic, renowned for his wit, brilliant conversation, and eccentric lifestyle. His only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890, is an exploration of aesthetics, morality, and decadence. The story follows Dorian Gray, a young man who wishes to maintain his eternal beauty while his portrait ages and reflects the effects of his life of excess and corruption. Wilde is especially known for his plays, such as The Importance of Being Earnest, 1895, a comedy that satirizes Victorian society and its conventions, and An Ideal Husband, 1895, which explores hypocrisy and political corruption. His literary style is characterized by sharp wit, paradoxes, and memorable epigrams. Wilde championed the aesthetic movement, promoting art for art's sake and the pursuit of beauty. Wilde's personal life was marked by controversy. In 1895, he was imprisoned for gross indecency due to his relationship with Lord Alfred Douglas. During his time in prison, he wrote De Profundis, a long reflective letter. After his release, he exiled himself in France, where he wrote The Ballad of Reading Gaol. Oscar Wilde died on November 30, 1900, in Paris, in poverty and ostracism. However, his reputation has been rehabilitated, and he is recognized as one of the most important and beloved writers for his contribution to literature and his defense of artistic and personal freedom. Number 22. Emily Dickinson. Emily Elizabeth Dickinson was born on December 10, 1830, in Amherst, Massachusetts, United States. She is considered one of the most important poets in American literature, known for her unique style and profound introspection. During her life, Dickinson led a reclusive existence, and only a few of her nearly 1,800 poems were published, often anonymously and edited without her consent. Her poems were discovered and published posthumously, revealing an innovative and powerful poetic voice. The themes of her poetry include death, immortality, nature, love, and existence. Her style is characterized by the use of dashes, unconventional capitalization, slant rhymes, and brevity that condenses deep emotions and thoughts. Poems like Because I Could Not Stop for Death and I'm Nobody. Who Are You? Showcase her ability to explore complex concepts with simplicity and depth. Dickinson challenged the poetic and social conventions of her time, and her work defied expectations about the role of women in personal expression. She died on May 15, 1886, in her hometown. The publication of her poems revolutionized modern poetry, and her influence is evident in numerous subsequent poets and writers. Emily Dickinson is celebrated for her originality and for opening new possibilities in poetic expression, making her a central figure in the literary canon. Number 21. Albert Camus. Albert Camus was born on November 7, 1913, in Mondovi, French Algeria. He was a French philosopher, writer, and journalist, associated with existentialism and known for his concept of the absurd. Camus received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1957, being one of the youngest recipients. His work explores themes like the absurdity of existence, freedom, rebellion, and the search for meaning in an indifferent world. His most famous novel, The Stranger, 1942, narrates the story of Marcel, a man who commits a seemingly motiveless murder and faces the indifference of society and the judicial system. The work examines alienation and the senselessness of life. Another notable work is The Plague, 1947, an allegory about an epidemic in the city of Oran that symbolizes human resistance in the face of suffering and oppression. Camus also wrote philosophical essays like The Myth of Sisyphus, 1942, where he introduces his philosophy of the absurd and analyzes how humans confront an existence lacking inherent purpose. Although often associated with existentialism, Camus rejected this label, preferring to focus on the human condition and the need to find value and meaning through our actions and solidarity with others. He died tragically in a car accident on January 4, 1960, in Villeblevin, France. Camus' legacy is profound, and his work continues to inspire reflections on morality, justice, and human experience in the modern world. Number 20. George Orwell. Eric Arthur Blair, known by his pen name George Orwell, was born on June 25, 1903, in Motihari, British India. He was an English novelist, essayist, and social critic, recognized for his advocacy of social justice and his opposition to totalitarianism. His most influential works are Animal Farm, 1945, and 1984-1949. Animal Farm is an allegorical fable that satirizes the corruption of revolutionary ideals in the Soviet Union, showing how leaders can manipulate language and propaganda to consolidate power. 1984 is a dystopian novel that presents a society subjected to total surveillance and control by the party and its leader, Big Brother. The work explores themes like manipulation of truth, erosion of freedom, and language as a tool of oppression. Concepts like doublethink, newspeak, and Big Brother have entered popular vocabulary, reflecting concerns about privacy and governmental authority. Orwell also wrote Homage to Catalonia, 1938, a chronicle of his experience in the Spanish Civil War, where he fought against fascism and became disillusioned with authoritarian communism. His style is clear and direct, committed to clarity and honesty. Orwell believed in the power of literature to influence society and advocated the importance of truth and intellectual integrity. He died on January 21, 1950, in London due to tuberculosis. George Orwell is celebrated as one of the most important writers of the 20th century, and his works remain relevant in debates about politics, ethics, and human rights. Number 19. Jorge Luis Borges. Born on August 24, 1899, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Jorge Luis Borges is one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. His work encompasses short stories, essays, and poetry, and is known for exploring metaphysical, philosophical, and fantastical themes. Borges is considered a master of the short story and a pioneer in the use of metafiction and intertextuality. His most notable collections include Ficciones, 1944, and The Aleph, 1949, where he addresses concepts like infinity, labyrinths, mirrors, and the nature of reality. Stories like The Library of Babel, The Garden of Forking Paths, and Pierre Minard, author of The Quixote, demonstrate his ability to combine erudition with imagination, challenging conventional perceptions of time and space. Borges was also a prolific essayist and poet, with deep knowledge of various cultures and literary traditions. His style is precise and concise, characterized by elegant prose and an economy of language that invites multiple interpretations. Although he never received the Nobel Prize in Literature, his influence on contemporary literature and thought is undeniable. Borges redefined the boundaries of fiction, inspiring generations of writers and readers to question the nature of the universe and human experience. He died on June 14, 1986, in Geneva, Switzerland. Jorge Luis Borges's legacy endures in his ability to fuse the real and the fantastic, creating literary worlds that continue to fascinate and stimulate philosophical reflection. Number 18. Herman Melville. Born on August 1, 1819, in New York City, United States, Herman Melville was a novelist, short story writer, and poet whose work has left an indelible mark on American literature. His most famous novel, Moby Dick, 1851, is a maritime epic that explores Captain Ahab's obsession with hunting an elusive white whale. The novel is rich in symbolism and encompasses themes like the nature of good and evil, existence, and destiny. Although initially not well received, Moby Dick is now considered a masterpiece for its narrative complexity and profound analysis of the human condition. Melville combines detailed descriptions of whaling with philosophical and biblical reflections, creating a multidimensional work. Other notable works include Bartleby, The Scrivener, 1853, a short story that examines alienation and passivity in the work environment, and Billy Budd, Sailor, published posthumously in 1924, which addresses themes of innocence, justice, and moral ambiguity. Melville's style is dense and poetic, with rich language and symbolic depth that invites multiple readings. Despite facing financial difficulties and criticism during his life, his work has been rediscovered and reevaluated, establishing him as one of the pillars of Western literature. He died on September 28, 1891, in New York City. Melville's literary legacy remains alive, and his explorations of the limits of human experience continue to inspire readers and writers worldwide. Number 17. Victor Hugo. Born on February 26, 1802, in Besançon, France, Victor Hugo was a poet, playwright, and novelist prominent in French Romanticism. His work covers a wide range of genres and themes, from lyrical poetry to epic novels that reflect his commitment to social and political issues of his time. Les Miserables, 1862, is his most recognized novel, an extensive work that follows the life of Jean Valjean, an ex-convict seeking redemption in post-Napoleonic France. The novel addresses themes like justice, morality, compassion, and social inequalities and has been adapted numerous times for theater and film. Another emblematic work is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1831, which combines a tragic love story with a critique of medieval society and a celebration of Gothic architecture. Hugo was also an influential poet, with collections like Les Contemplations and La Légende des siècles, showcasing his lyrical talent and his ability to address universal themes. In addition to his literary work, Victor Hugo was a political activist and human rights advocate, opposing the death penalty and advocating for civil liberties and social justice. His exile during Napoleon III's regime strengthened his commitment to these ideals. He died on May 22, 1885, in Paris, and his funeral was a national event reflecting his stature as a cultural and moral figure. Victor Hugo's legacy is vast, and his influence endures in literature, art, and social thought. Number 16. Ernest Hemingway. Born on July 21, 1899, in Oak Park, Illinois, United States, Ernest Hemingway was a novelist and journalist whose direct and concise style transformed 20th century literature. Winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954, Hemingway is known for his iceberg theory, where most of a story's meaning lies beneath the surface. The Old Man and the Sea, 1952, is one of his most acclaimed works, earning him the Pulitzer Prize. The short novel narrates the epic struggle of a Cuban fisherman against a giant marlin, symbolizing themes of perseverance, courage, and dignity in the face of defeat. Other notable novels include For Whom the Bell Tolls, 1940, inspired by his experience in the Spanish Civil War, and A Farewell to Arms, 1929, a love story set during World War I. The Sun Also Rises, 1926, also known as Fiesta, captures the disillusionment of the lost generation after the war. Hemingway was an adventurer, participating in wars, safaris, and activities like hunting and fishing, experiences that enriched his writing. His personal life and public image contributed to his fame, but he also faced struggles with depression and health problems. He died by suicide on July 2, 1961, in Ketchum, Idaho. Hemingway's legacy is enduring, and his influence is felt in modern writing through his minimalist style and exploration of universal themes like courage, love, and death. Number 15. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Born on March 6, 1927, in Aracataca, Colombia, Gabriel Garcia Marquez was a writer, screenwriter, and journalist, recognized as one of the most important exponents of magical realism and Latin American literature. Winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1982, his work fuses the fantastic with the everyday. 100 Years of Solitude, 1967, is his most emblematic novel, narrating the story of the Buendia family in the fictional town of Macondo. The work explores themes like cyclical time, solitude, destiny, and the history of Latin America, combining myths, legends, and social realities. Love in the Time of Cholera, 1985, is another of his outstanding works, a love story spanning more than half a century that examines the nature of love and patience. Garcia Marquez also wrote short stories and novellas, like Chronicle of a Death Foretold, 1981, showcasing his ability for suspense and social critique. His style is rich in imagery, with exuberant language that reflects Latin American culture and folklore. He was also a committed journalist and friend to political leaders, influencing his perspective and themes. He died on April 17, 2014, in Mexico City. His legacy is immense, and his influence extends beyond literature, being a key figure in the cultural identity of Latin America. Number 14. Virginia Woolf. Born on January 25, 1882, in London, England, Virginia Woolf was a prominent writer and essayist of literary modernism. Her innovation in the use of stream of consciousness and her exploration of subjectivity and perception revolutionized 20th-century narrative. Mrs. Dalloway, 1925, is one of her most influential novels, following Clarissa Dalloway on a single day as she prepares for a party, intertwining the thoughts and experiences of various characters to delve into themes like time, memory, and identity. To the Lighthouse, 1927, is another significant work that explores family dynamics and changing perceptions over time, using an innovative narrative structure. In her essay, A Room of One's Own, 1929, Woolf addresses the need for economic independence and creative space for women writers, laying the foundations for feminist literary criticism. Virginia Woolf was a member of the Bloomsbury Group, a circle of intellectuals and artists who influenced British culture. Throughout her life, she struggled with mental health issues and ultimately died by suicide on March 28, 1941. Her literary legacy is lasting, and her work continues to inspire writers and scholars in exploring consciousness, gender, and narrative structures. Number 13. Mark Twain. Born as Samuel Langhorne Clemens on November 30, 1835, in Florida, Missouri, United States, Mark Twain is one of the most celebrated writers in American literature. Known for his wit, humor, and social criticism, Twain captured the essence of life along the Mississippi River and beyond. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1876, and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884, are his most famous works. The latter is considered one of the great American novels, addressing themes like friendship, freedom, and racism through the eyes of young Huck and the runaway slave Jim. Twain was a master of dialect and colloquial language, which brought authenticity and vitality to his characters. His satirical style and ability to critique social injustices without losing humor made him a unique voice. In addition to novels, Twain wrote essays, short stories, and gave lectures that made him famous in his time. Works like A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court show his interest in mixing genres and times to explore contemporary themes. He died on April 21, 1910, in Reading, Connecticut. Mark Twain left a legacy that continues to influence literature and culture, remembered as a witty and insightful chronicler of the American experience. Number 12. Franz Kafka. Born on July 3, 1883, in Prague, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Franz Kafka was a German-speaking writer whose works have had a profound influence on modern literature. His narratives often explore alienation, anxiety, and oppressive bureaucracy in an inexplicable and absurd world. The Metamorphosis, 1915, is one of his best-known stories, in which the protagonist, Gregor Samsa, wakes up transformed into a giant insect. The story is an allegory about identity, communication breakdown, and dehumanization. Novels like The Trial, published in 1925, and The Castle, 1926, present protagonists trapped in incomprehensible legal and administrative systems, reflecting the individual's struggle against uncontrollable forces. Kafka's style is characterized by clarity and precision, creating oppressive atmospheres and surreal situations that have given rise to the term Kafkaesque. Despite his talent, Kafka published little during his lifetime and asked his friend Max Brod to destroy his writings after his death. Brod ignored this request and published his works, ensuring his place in literary history. Franz Kafka died on June 3, 1924, in Kirling, Austria. His legacy is fundamental in existential and modern literature, and his works continue to resonate for their exploration of the depths of human experience. Number 11. Jane Austen. Born on December 16, 1775, in Steventon, Hampshire, England, Jane Austen is one of the most beloved and enduring novelists in English literature. Her works offer a satirical and critical view of the society of her time, focusing on human relationships and social conventions. Pride and Prejudice, 1813, is perhaps her most famous novel, which follows Elizabeth Bennet as she navigates the complexities of love, pride, and misunderstandings with Mr. Darcy. The novel explores themes of class, marriage, and reputation. Other notable works include Sense and Sensibility, 1811, Emma, 1815, Mansfield Park, 1814, and Persuasion, 1817. Austen wrote with irony and precision, portraying her characters with depth and realism. Although her novels focus on domestic matters and personal relationships, they address universal themes and offer subtle critiques of the limitations imposed on women and societal expectations. Jane Austen died on July 18, 1817, in Winchester, at the age of 41. Her literary legacy has grown over time, and her works continue to be widely read, studied, and adapted, appreciated for their wit, wisdom, and understanding of human nature. Number 10. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Born on August 28, 1749, in Frankfurt am Main, Germany, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was a writer, poet, playwright, and scientist whose influence spans multiple fields of culture and knowledge. He is considered the greatest writer in the German language and a key figure in Romanticism. His most important work is Faust, a tragedy in 2 parts that narrates the pact of the scholar Faust with the devil Mephistopheles. The work explores profound themes such as the pursuit of knowledge, human desire, redemption, and the duality of good and evil. The Sorrows of Young Werther, 1774, is another significant work that had an enormous impact in its time, inspiring the Sturm und Drang, movement and generating a cultural phenomenon around the protagonist. Goethe also made contributions in natural sciences, especially in color theory, and was an influential figure in politics and philosophy. His interest in art, nature, and universal culture is reflected in the diversity and depth of his work. He died on March 22, 1832, in Weimar, leaving a monumental legacy. Goethe is remembered not only for his literary genius but also for his contribution to humanism and his influence on Western culture. Number 9. James Joyce. Born on February 2, 1882, in Dublin, Ireland, James Augustine Aloysius Joyce was a writer and poet whose work revolutionized 20th-century literature. Known for his innovative use of the stream of consciousness and experimental narrative techniques, Joyce explored the human mind and everyday life with unprecedented depth. His most famous work, Ulysses, 1922, is a monumental novel that follows the experiences of Leopold Bloom during a single day in Dublin, June 16, 1904. The novel reinterprets Homer's Odyssey in a modern context, using a variety of narrative styles and literary techniques, including stream of consciousness. Ulysses is considered one of the most important and influential works of modern literature, although it also generated controversy for its explicit and experimental content. Another significant work is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, 1916, a semi-autobiographical novel that follows the intellectual and moral development of Stephen Dedalus, Joyce's alter ego, as he struggles with religion, culture, and his artistic identity. Finnegan's Wake, 1939, is his most experimental work, known for its complex language and multilingual wordplay. The novel challenges traditional narrative conventions and explores themes like the cycle of history and the nature of dreams. Joyce's style is known for its psychological depth, symbolism, and exploration of subjective reality. His influence on literature is immense, inspiring writers to experiment with new forms of expression. James Joyce died on January 13, 1941, in Zurich, Switzerland. His legacy endures as one of the pillars of modernist literature, and his work continues to be studied and admired for its innovation and narrative mastery. Number 8. Marcel Proust. Valentin Louis Georges Eugène Marcel Proust was born on July 10, 1871, in Auteuil, France. He is recognized for his monumental work, In Search of Lost Time, À la recherche du temps perdu, a series of 7 novels published between 1913 and 1927 that explore memory, time, and human experience. The work begins with Swann's Way and extends to Time Regained. Through a nameless narrator, often identified as Marcel, Proust delves into the memories of his life, analyzing the most minute details and the emotions associated with them. The famous Madeleine episode is a symbol of how a simple taste can trigger a cascade of memories. Proust's style is characterized by long and complex sentences, deep introspection, and meticulous attention to detail. His exploration of psychology and the subjective perception of time has influenced modern literature and philosophy. In addition to his main work, Proust wrote essays and literary criticisms, demonstrating his intellectual acumen and knowledge of French society and culture. Marcel Proust died on November 18, 1922, in Paris, due to pneumonia aggravated by his chronic asthma. His legacy is fundamental in world literature, and his exploration of memory and subjectivity continues to resonate with readers and writers. Number 7. Charles Dickens. Born on February 7, 1812, in Portsmouth, England, Charles John Huffam Dickens is one of the most beloved and recognized novelists of English literature. His works reflect incisive social criticism and a deep compassion for the disadvantaged and marginalized of Victorian society. Among his most famous novels are Oliver Twist, 1838, which addresses child exploitation and poverty, A Christmas Carol, 1843, a redemption story that has endured as a Christmas classic, David Copperfield, 1850, a semi-autobiographical novel that follows the personal growth of the protagonist, and Great Expectations, 1861, which explores themes of ambition, social class, and self-discovery. Dickens is known for his memorable and vivid characters, from the miserly Ebenezer Scrooge to the cunning Fagin. His ability to combine humor, pathos, and social criticism allowed him to address themes like injustice, corruption, and the inequalities of his time. In addition to novels, Dickens wrote short stories, articles, and was a prominent public speaker. His public readings of his works were very popular and contributed to his fame. Charles Dickens died on June 9, 1870, in Higham, Kent. His influence on literature is profound, and his works continue to be read, adapted, and appreciated for their humanity, captivating narrative, and commitment to social reform. Number 6. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky was born on November 11, 1821, in Moscow, Russia. He is one of the most important writers in Russian and world literature, known for his novels that explore human psychology, morality, and the complexities of free will. Among his masterpieces is Crime and Punishment, 1866, which follows Rodion Raskolnikov, an impoverished student who commits a murder and faces the psychological and ethical consequences of his action. The novel delves into themes like guilt, redemption, and the nature of good and evil. Another significant work is The Brothers Karamazov, 1880, a novel that addresses philosophical and theological questions through the story of three brothers and their corrupt father. The work explores themes like faith, reason, freedom, and moral responsibility. Dostoevsky also wrote The Idiot, 1869, and Demons, 1872, both novels reflecting his concerns about Russian society and the human condition. His style is characterized by intense dialogues, internal monologues, and deeply conflicted characters. Dostoevsky personally experienced financial difficulties and health problems, including epilepsy and years of exile in Siberia, experiences that influenced his writing. He died on February 9, 1881, in St. Petersburg. Dostoevsky's legacy is immense, and his exploration of human psychology has influenced modern literature, philosophy, and psychology. Number 5. Dante Alighieri. Durante di Alighiero degli Alighieri, known as Dante Alighieri, was born in 1265 in Florence, Italy. He is considered the father of the Italian language and one of the greatest poets in universal literature. His magnum opus, The Divine Comedy, written between 1308 and 1320, is an epic poem that describes the soul's journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise. The work is an allegory of human life and an exploration of themes like sin, redemption, love, and divine justice. Throughout his journey, Dante is guided by the Roman poet Virgil and later by Beatrice, his platonic love. The Divine Comedy is notable for its structure, language, and philosophical and theological depth. Dante wrote in the Tuscan dialect, laying the foundation for modern Italian and demonstrating that the vernacular language could be a medium for high-level literature. In addition to his main work, Dante wrote treatises on politics, philosophy, and linguistics, such as De Vulgari Eloquentia and Convivio. Exiled from Florence for political reasons, Dante spent much of his life wandering, which influenced his writings and worldview. He died on September 14, 1321, in Ravenna. Dante's impact on literature and culture is immeasurable, and The Divine Comedy continues to be studied and admired for its literary art and profound exploration of human existence. Number 4. Homer. Homer is the name attributed to the legendary Greek poet to whom the epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, are assigned, two of the oldest and most fundamental works of Western literature. Although the details of his life are uncertain and subject to debate, it is believed that he may have lived around the 8th century BCE. The Iliad narrates the events of the siege of Troy during the war between the Greeks, Achaeans, and the Trojans, focusing on the figure of the hero Achilles and themes like wrath, honor, and fate. The Odyssey follows the adventures of Odysseus, Ulysses, on his long and arduous journey home after the fall of Troy, exploring themes like cunning, endurance, and the quest for home. These epics have influenced literature, art, and culture for millennia, establishing archetypes and narratives that continue to resonate today. Homer's poems are also valuable for their depiction of Greek mythology, customs, and society of the time. Homer's style is epic, using dactylic hexameter and language rich in formulas and epithets, suggesting an oral tradition in the composition of his works. Although Homer's historical existence remains uncertain, his legacy is undeniable. The works attributed to him have been foundational in classical education and continue to be objects of study and admiration. Number 3. Leo Tolstoy. Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy was born on September 9, 1828, in Yasnaya Polyana, Russia. He is one of the most prominent writers in world literature, known for his extensive novels that explore human nature and the complexities of Russian society. War and Peace, 1869, is one of his emblematic works, an epic novel that combines fiction with historical and philosophical essays. Through a wide cast of characters, Tolstoy portrays Russian life during the Napoleonic Wars, exploring themes like free will, destiny, and the impact of historical events on individual lives. Anna Karenina, 1877, is another of his masterpieces, narrating the tragic story of an aristocratic woman seeking love and happiness outside social conventions, addressing themes like morality, passion, and social hypocrisy. Tolstoy also wrote short stories and essays, such as The Death of Ivan Ilyich and How Much Land Does a Man Need?, reflecting his ethical and spiritual concerns. In his later life, he experienced a moral and religious conversion, adopting a simple lifestyle and advocating pacifism, non-violence, and universal love, influencing figures like Mahatma Gandhi. He died on November 20, 1910, at Astapovo railway station, after leaving his home in search of a more ascetic life. Tolstoy's legacy is vast, and his works continue to be read and studied for their psychological depth, realism, and exploration of universal issues. Number 2. Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. Born on September 29, 1547, in Alcalá de Henares, Spain, Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra is considered the greatest figure in Spanish literature and one of the greatest writers in world literature. His masterpiece, Don Quixote, published in 2 parts in 1605 and 1615, is considered the first modern novel. The story follows Alonso Quixano, a hidalgo who, obsessed with chivalric novels, becomes the knight-errant Don Quixote, embarking on adventures alongside his squire Sancho Panza. Don Quixote is a work that combines humor, irony, and profound reflection on reality and illusion, madness and sanity, and the very nature of literature. The novel is rich in memorable characters and situations that have influenced culture and art worldwide. Cervantes also wrote Novelas Ejemplares, a collection of short stories that explore various themes and demonstrate his narrative versatility. His life was marked by adventures and difficulties, including his participation in the Battle of Lepanto, where he lost the use of his left hand, and years of captivity in Algiers after being captured by pirates. He died on April 22, 1616, in Madrid. Miguel de Cervantes is remembered as the Prince of Wits, and his legacy endures in the richness of his work and his impact on world literature. Number 1. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in April 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, and is widely considered the greatest writer in the English language and one of the most important playwrights in history. His work encompasses 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and other poems. Shakespeare's plays include tragedies like Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, and King Lear, which explore ambition, betrayal, love, and the human condition with unprecedented psychological depth. He also wrote comedies like A Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, and The Merchant of Venice, which combine wit, humor, and social critique. His historical plays, such as Henry V and Richard III, offer perspectives on power, politics, and national identity. Shakespeare's sonnets are lyrical poems that address themes like love, time, beauty, and mortality, demonstrating his mastery of language and poetic form. Shakespeare's language has enriched English with countless words and expressions. His profound understanding of human nature and his ability to portray universal emotions and conflicts have made his works transcend time and culture. He died on April 23, 1616, in his hometown. William Shakespeare's legacy is unparalleled, and his works continue to be performed, studied, and celebrated worldwide, reflecting the eternity of his literary genius. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.